right, welcome to segment number 2. We are actually going to talk all about racing in the heat as well as talking about pre-race nutrition. This is one of the biggest questions that I get from athletes. What should I even eat before I go out and run? And what does that look like? We're talking about early season racing right now. We're talking about racing in 80 to 90 degree temperatures in the afternoon, after school. That's where we're going to start. And so the first place I'm going to tell you guys to start is to actually think about how much you're hydrating. I know you guys probably get this a lot from your coaches, but water is not the only thing that I want you guys to think about. When you guys run, if you guys think about an average hour in good temperatures, you're probably losing about 1,200 milligrams of sodium. And so when we lose that much sodium, we need to replace that because when we sweat, we are losing sodium. We're losing a lot of things called electrolytes. And if you're not used to replacing electrolytes, you may see some different products. The product I'm going to talk about today, guys, is Scratch. They are one of our partners here at Peak Performance Running. And one of the things I really love about Scratch is that it's super easy on the stomach. And I think the other thing I really love about Scratch is that it actually tastes good. I'm going to talk about a number of different products here that I will be linking to our store that you can find out there. It is an affiliate link, so everything that you guys do helps us get more products in the hands of our athletes, and so that is a huge help to us. But let's talk a little bit about Scratch. Let's look at this here. So in one packet, we've got 80 calories. In that, we've got 20 grams of carbohydrate, 380 milligrams of sodium. On top of that, we have 19 grams of sugar. And a lot of people are going, 19 grams of sugar, that's a lot. Well, as an athlete, this is performance fuel. This is something that you guys are going to have either before or during. And what's really important to understand is that to effectively transport sodium, we need sugar. We need those carbohydrates inside water to be able to get that and effectively hydrate into our bodies. Part of the reason that we want to think about sodium more often than not when we're racing in the heat is that sodium is really good at helping us retain water, which means that it's going to allow us to sweat more efficiently, and it's going to allow us to keep the metabolic processes that we need going, like burning carbohydrates. It's going to help us to do that and do that really well the hotter it gets. That's also why there's carbohydrates in this. This is calories, performance fuel that you can use. So this is something I want you guys to think of, that after lunch, grabbing your basic water bottle or even your Nalgene, your hydro flask. I hear another one of those drop on a hard floor, I'm going to lose it. But either way, Scratch Labs or anything like a liquid IV, anything like that. The only reason I would say Scratch over a liquid IV is I like real sugar and it processes better. You don't have that fake sugary taste in your mouth. Now, that's something that you can have leading into your race. So let's say you have lunch at 12 or 1, you're going to race at 4. That's 3 hours out. That's super, you can get through a whole bottle of this, no problem. Now, if you're not someone that likes to eat a lot of food before that, normally you guys can get away with a larger meal of 300 to 500-ish calories about 2 to 3 hours out. We start getting to that 90 minutes to go point. And inside that 90 minutes, you may even include your warm-up inside that. So what can we eat? And one of the things I learned from Colette, who actually I'm going to be including one of her resources, it's kind of a little fun extra for you guys inside the blog post that goes along with these. You can find the link to this also inside the description of this video. She shared some really cool insights about actually athlete nutrition. Colette works for Scratch Labs, and she is one of their nutritionists over there and does an amazing job for us in both educating us as well as helping us understand why we need to fuel our bodies and how to fuel our bodies correctly as athletes. So when we are 90 minutes out, we've got a few choices. When we're more than 90 minutes out, one of the things I want you to think about is fat and protein. So I'm going to take 2 things I commonly see athletes eat. These are the Bear Bells from Trader Joe's. This one's 200 calories, and this is the Cliff Builder Bar, and this one is 290 calories. Now, I'd love to see you guys eat more real food leading into a race, but if this is your only option, be a little careful just because high protein or high fat items, so like having something very fatty, or something with a lot of fiber, 3 hours out may not be an ideal pre-race meal, because fat and protein require more blood to go to your gut. And if you're not hydrating as well as you should be, those things are going to sit in your stomach and they're not going to feel that great, and they're not going to be fully digested, and you're not going to be as comfortable as you'd like going into that race. And so that can be a tough meal. And if you kind of feel like your stomach isn't quite right, not the butterflies in your stomach, but it feels hard or crampy, or you get that deep stomach cramp, I would check back and see what you ate that day, and see, did it have a lot of fat and a lot of protein in it? This alone has 20 grams of protein in it. And we're looking at something along the lines of 30% saturated fat, 6 grams of it, 29 grams of carbs, 200 milligrams of sodium, and inside that, not much else. So this can be kind of filling, but I would rather see you guys try to eat, some real food, and then maybe try and stretch yourself to some better snacks leading in. So one of the things that I think is really easy to eat, and something small that you can kind of snack on once you get done with school and get onto the bus, is a simple carbohydrate, something like a goldfish cracker, or something else that's just going to sit well. I've seen people eat maybe some saltines with peanut butter. I'd be a little careful of cheese and crackers, but you can also have some fresh fruit inside there that's going to be lower on fiber, higher on the sugar intake, and something that's going to help your stomach feel like you have something in it. And I think the key is that we don't always want to go for that feeling of full, and having a full stomach before we go out and run. You want to have enough in your stomach that you feel like you have enough energy or feel fueled. You don't want to feel kind of drowsy and you like your blood sugar's low. And so the thing to be careful of is that when you have things that are high in sugar, if you have them all at once, that's going to cause your blood sugar to spike. And the response from that is a ton of insulin, and then you kind of feel a little drowsy. And so what I really, really want you guys to consider is looking at something that is higher in carbohydrates, but may not always be a sugar. And so that's where a cracker, one of the other products from scratch that I fell in love with at our high altitude camp this year, was this strawberry and mallow crispy rice cake. Now, as you can see, this is going to be as much or more in terms of volume in your stomach, but this is closer to real food than a protein bar is. And it's going to have a little bit of fiber. It's going to have a little bit of carbohydrate. It's going to have just a little bit of fat in it, but it has 35 grams of carbohydrate, which is what your body is going to utilize during the 5K. So this is a great product. If you are half an hour out, I would tell you to grab a couple of these energy chews. Sorry for all the noise on the mic. Grab these energy chews because they are a super simple way that you can have a few of them during warm up, a few of them before the race. And this is something that you can totally throw in the bottom of your bag. If you're like, man, I am 10 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, and I feel like I need a little more something, and you don't want to put down a ton of water in your stomach. This is a super great way to not fill up your stomach, but give you a quick boost of energy. And again, you're going to get that kind of, kind of sugary feeling from it, but you're also just about to go run. And so that is when you can utilize sugar really, really easily. So those are kind of my big 3 products these are my 3 favorites from scratch. It's going to be just the basic. I love the orange. I love these raspberry chews and the strawberry and mellow Rice Krispie bar. And so when we really think about that, 3 hours to 90 minutes to 60 minutes to 30 minutes to go, the closer you get to the race, the simpler you're going to want to be in terms of what you're eating. The more complex things need to happen earlier in the day. And so one of the mistakes that I see people make when they are fueling, especially those that are racing in the afternoon, they skip breakfast. You need to front load your day with calories. And so one of the things I will tell you is find something easy that you can eat. I don't care if it's a microwave burrito. That microwave burrito is going to save your butt because it's going to give you an extra 500 to 600 calories early in the morning that by the time you get to lunch, you're not going to be so starved that you're going to way overeat or eat too much, and then feel heavy, lethargic, or not fully digested by the time you get to the race. So those are kind of some key points when it comes to racing, and preparing your body for racing on days where you have an afternoon race. Now, when it comes to the morning, this is where things can get a little complicated, but it's just going to require a little bit of trial and error. If you race track, you probably have a few things figured out about what you could do for a morning track meet, or if you were one of the first races for track. I still want you to have something for breakfast, but you can keep it super simple. Half a bagel with peanut butter if you're, less than 2 hours from race, from gun time. And you can follow a really similar rule with the things that we've shown you guys here in terms of, having a water bottle, like literally the moment you get up, probably start hydrating, especially if it's going to be a warm day. And then really simple carbohydrate fuels before the race. Now, after the race, you guys need to consider how many calories did you burn and replacing those calories. I was talking with Coach Tom Schwartz, Mr. Tin Man himself, and we talked about, replacing calories. And he gave me a really cool kind of like algorithm that I will, an equation for you guys to kind of think about when it comes to replacing calories after a run. And so this is not just racing, but any run. And I want you to take 0.73 times your body weight, and that's going to give you a rough look at your calories that you've burned inside that. So for me, about 140-ish pounds, 0.73 times 140 is going to get me roughly, I think, like 100-ish. I did it over here. It gives me like 102 calories. And then what you have to kind of add on top of that is an additional 20%. So if I did a 5-mile run, I'm going to burn about 510 calories. The extra 20% on that is going to be roughly 600 calories that I need to replace. And so it's just making sure that I replace enough calories afterwards so that I can continue to set myself up for success for the next day's run and continue training. Now, let's shift gears a little bit from fueling and preparing to how do we change, our outlook in terms of racing in the heat. For a lot of people, racing in the heat requires that you not only hydrate beforehand, but also how do I prepare and change my race plan? I'll give you guys two things. One, I actually want you to lengthen that warm-up, but slow it down a little bit. I usually recommend a 20-minute warm-up, and I'll actually, while this is going somewhere out over here, I'll kind of list how I have my athletes do a warm-up. And so we try to do a little bit of threshold work and a couple of intervals to help our body slowly get faster, but also slowly get closer to race pace so that when we're going in the heat, we're not really, ramping our body up from 80 beats per minute to 170 or 180 beats per minute. That warm-up allows us to slowly get to a place where we have an elevated heart rate. Our body is ready to do that hard work. One of the things that happens to a lot of people is that they don't want to do as long of a warm-up because they're worried about having enough energy because it's hot and they don't want to burn out. Well, if you bring your body up slowly, you can actually perform in hot temperatures almost as well as you can in cool temperatures as long as your body has been prepared for it and as long as you've done some training in the heat. It's when you don't warm up enough and you take your body from a relatively cold, and meaning like a not warmed up state, to let's go all the way hard effort. That's when you almost get a reflex from your body going, oh my God, what's happening? Why are we running? Is there a cheetah? And then it's adrenaline, and then then we can kind of get that mid-race crash. So with that said, what can we do? We can probably pull back that first mile 20 seconds per mile and then progress our effort throughout the race. And that's going to allow us to really ease into that effort, but then also manage the heat or manage anything else that comes our way. But that also means managing your overall effort. You know that if you go to 9 or 10 out of 10 too early in a race, you're going to blow up. In the heat, it's especially true, and it's going to happen even faster. So manage your effort, know what you're capable of. And then ultimately, if you've done everything else right, from the hydration and the fueling and everything else, it's about your personal intuition of what you're capable of doing that day. that said, I think as I look at this, the only other thing to really kind of talk through with you guys, we talked about adjusting race strategy, lengthening warm up. We talked about pre-fueling and getting everything that you need. I think the only other piece here is that after these really hot races, you may feel even more tired than usual. And so your recovery time is going to be lengthened. When you have these hard efforts, one of the things that can happen is that after you race hard, you may not want to go out and cool down. Well, when you race really hard, your cortisol levels go up and you need to do something to bring them back down. And so slowly going out, even 20 minutes after your race is done, you can go out and do a 10 to 15 minute cool down and just let it be slow. Let it be really, really chill and conversational with all of your teammates. And that's actually what's going to help you cool down. And then when you get home, a nice cool shower, things like that, that's what's going to help you be able to relax. Those cortisol levels are going to go down and you're going to be able to actually get some sleep. One of the things I've seen with a lot of athletes after hot races, they struggle to sleep because everything is still kind of up here and our bodies are trying to cool down. So refuel, cool your body down, actually get your core temperature down if you need to, but make sure that you actually cool down after those hot races. As miserable as it sounds, it's worth doing. That's all I've got for you guys for segment number 2. I will see you guys back here for segment number 3.